The Decorah boys basketball team will open up their season Friday night, making a trip down to Western Dubuque. Head coach John Carlson joining us. And coach, at practice, you've been at the practice for about 3 weeks and now. Obviously, the summer and the off-season improvement is a part of what you do in this sport and in any sport nowadays. How ready are you guys for a competition that counts against somebody else starting tomorrow night?
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks again, Darren, for all of your and Randy's coverage with Wellness Communications. Yeah, I think our guys are ready. It's tonight will be our 12th practice. We've had one achieve kind of exhibition scrimmage, if you will, but yeah, I think they're ready. They're ready to quit listening to us bark at them on certain things and get out there and kind of see what you're made of. Yeah, like I said, they've been prepared for it. I think we're ready to go, but obviously you don't know till the game starts.
You've had an opportunity to face a team besides yourself. What'd you take away from those scrimmage opportunities?
Well, I think it was a good opportunity for some of our guys to kind of get some of them. It was their first varsity experience, so getting that kind of out of the way. That's a nice thing with those achieve scrimmages that you can do is you can put the jersey on and keep score, and it's like a regular game. So kind of be able to get some game flow there with that, and kind of see where you're at. I think also, a kid like Trey McCain, we didn't look thinking back on it, didn't realize, last time for him to put an actual game jersey on, was the Central DeWitt game, in Wells Fargo. So kid like that, obviously good for him to get out there a little bit and obviously playing in the summer and playing in those things, that's one thing, but to actually go out and play in an official game, is another thing. So, yeah, it was just good to get out there and kind of see. Obviously we didn't shoot it as well maybe against Sumner as we would have liked to, but that's obviously, beginning of the year. So, worked on a few of those things in practice, kind of shore up a few things, and then, obviously we'll learn more about ourselves here against Western Dubuque on Friday night.
You've got new faces on this year's team. You got team kids moving up from the freshman or the sophomore level, seeing first varsity action. You got a kid like Trey McCain coming back after the injury. How much of this preseason has just been about trying to get this team to gel as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I think we did a lot of stuff this summer. So honestly, once the fall season started, a lot of these guys were in football or different things going on cross country, but it was almost like I felt like this year was a little bit like just almost like a 2-month break or 3-month break or whatever it was, and then we just kind of started right back. We had probably a handful of them that didn't do a fall sport, so they were working, getting in shape, doing a lot of conditioning stuff with some local places here, doing some of that. And so, some of those guys had been putting in a lot of work. So it was more or less just sort of retooling some things. But as you mentioned, obviously, anytime you add new guys in to the fold, it's a situation where, the more time you get with them on the floor, the better. And, I think that's what these 12 practices have done for us is just to be able to get some more continuity and get some different lineups in there to see kind of who's putting their best foot forward. And we feel like we got a lot of guys that are vying for time, a lot of mouths to feed, so to speak.
What would you say your main strength is right now?
I would say it's probably our depth. Like I said, we've got, we've got some guys that are going to be playing even in the JV game this year that would probably be starting on a lot of varsity teams. And so I think that's definitely our strength is our depth. And I think our athleticism is another one that definitely is those are two of our biggest strengths.
What tops the need to improve list right now? I know you're a coach. You're probably going to say everything at this point in the season, but what tops that list right now?
I would say defensively being consistent. We know we got a lot of guys that can score, but it's a matter of can we get stops when we need to. I would say, we don't have what I would call quote unquote vocal leader, a big vocal leader of the group. So finding that, Andrew Rhodes is our captain. And we've given him that role for that reason, to be vocal, because I think he's one of our more vocal guys out there. And so just and that leads into defense, right? Like, you need a guy on the floor defensively that's going to be your vocal guy, and so that's something that we're continuing to work on a daily basis.
Can you really judge that defensive thing you just mentioned? Can you really judge that without playing somebody else?
Uh in some ways, yes, with our scheme that we run. I mean, we can, last night we had a scrimmage 2 quarters against our sophomore group or our JV group, and there's some things that we can see there. But yeah, I mean, obviously not. I mean, in some ways yes, but in some ways no. So yeah, obviously, that first game is going to tell us a lot with that.
And this weekend to get out of the frying pan and into the fire, you got a Western Dubuque road trip on Friday night, and then you host Center Point Urbana come Saturday. Is that a fair way to put the start of the schedule out of the frying pan and into the fire?
Yeah, it is. I think those two, and obviously then if you look at our first four, all very, very, very solid 3A programs. Those two you mentioned, and then next week going to Wahlert, and then hosting Charles City on Friday night, defending conference champs, co-champs. And so, it's one of those things where I think this group is a group that can potentially, hopefully, knock on wood, handle that, being a little bit more senior laden, and having some guys with some experience back. But it's definitely a challenge, making a trip down to Dubuque County twice in a matter of 4 or 5 days, and then with CPU and Charles City at home. It's, like I said, it's one of those things where we're gonna see what we're made of here early on.
Did you schedule to challenge your team as much as possible with the opponents that you're seeing in non-conference play?
Yeah, we tried to. I think we're in a little bit of a hard situation with our geography location of, trying to find dates, that teams are any team is available to play, because I mean, a lot of the teams around us, they have tighter conference schedules than we do. Obviously, we play 10 conference games, and so we have to find 11 non-conference. 8, we actually still have one non-conference opening available that we kind of held on to kind of see if we could find a matchup similar to kind of what we did a couple years ago, even though it didn't come to fruition with Fort Madison. It happened 3 years ago, I think, with Monticello, trying to find a team maybe to meet them on a neutral floor. We do that with North Polk this year at Mason City. But I think, yeah, some of it's us, but some of it too is, I think, just the way the schedule works out is when some of these opponents can play us, and when it fits into their schedules too.
All right, Coach, should be a fun winter of basketball in Decorah, and hopefully you can get off to a good start this weekend. We wish you best of luck.
Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks, Darren.
John Carlson, head coach of the Decorah Vikings. Vikings at Western Dubuque to start the season Friday night.